So let me hand over the panel discussion and the session to Dr. Rohantha and to welcome our chief guest for the day and proceed from here. Dr. Rohantha, over to you.
Thank you, Kaushali. It's actually an honor to have such an eminent person to be our 50th um, guest speaker to be on the MBA Diary program. So we brought in 49 people from the chairperson of Unilever to the managing director of Nestle to the CEO of Hemas to the ambassadors around the world like UK, China, and today we are having the key personality who happens to be the chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, who will be addressing us. He is the group managing director of Sunshine Holdings, a diversified conglomerate listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange of Sri Lanka. Prior to moving to Sunshine Holdings, he joined Waterville Plantations as CEO in 1997. Diversified Plantation Management Company set up a JV with Tata India, and Waterville consisted of a mature agri-asset across palm oil, tea and rubber, with a total extent under management in excess of 10,000 hectare acres and a large workforce in excess of 11,000 people. Before moving to Sri Lanka, Vish held several leadership roles in both finance and management in the educational institutions in the USA. At Watervilla, he was instrumental in turning around a distressed plantation company and was credited to having successfully navigated the plantations company through volatile times to become the highest capitalized regional plantation company in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Further, his vision saw a company move away from being a monocrop to a diversified crop portfolio in palm oil and the rubber. And today, Sri Lanka, Watervilla, is the largest producer of crude palm oil. Vish's crowning achievement was in 1998 when he drove his company towards a downstream exposure by successfully entering the branded tea segment in Sri Lanka. Today, with approximately 3 million kilograms in sales, it enjoys market leadership position, the well-renowned tea brand Zesta, whatever the tea. His vision saw the birth of HealthGuard Pharmacy, a pharmacy chain with 23 outlets across the suburbs of Colombo. His new avatar is the group managing director of the holding company since 2009, saw him successfully transform a tightly held family run company into a diversified holding company and, more importantly, leverage the Tata India relationship to expand the group's footprint for market expansion. Vish's international experience coupled with innovative qualities has enabled him to key leadership roles in the private sector in Sri Lanka. The 100 Club by LMD, leading corporate magazine, recognized Vish Govindasamy as one of the top 10 CEOs of Sri Lanka. Having completed his primary education at Trinity College, Kandy, he holds an MBA and a Bachelor of Science degree in Electrical Engineering for the University of Hartford, USA. Currently, Vish is the Chairman Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Chairman Employers Federation of Ceylon, Council Member of Sri Lanka Institute of Directors, Committee Member Mercantile Services Provident Society, Past President Sri Lanka Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industry, and the immediate past President Indo-Lanka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sir, it's absolutely an honor for us to have you as a guest and such a uh, eminent person to come in as our 50th MBA diary speaker. And it just happens to be the day that the inauguration of this batch of youngsters coming in a time when things are very rough in Sri Lanka. So you are going to tell us what you expect from a CEO of tomorrow, Mr. Vish Govindasamy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm audible. I would like to first thank Chairman Bandula Egadage, Dr. Rohantha Atukorala, Board of APID, and the organizers of the MBA Diary for the invitation for me to speak as your chief guest. When Dr. Rohantha Atukorala sent me a message inviting me to do this, I didn't know I was getting into such a large affair, but I didn't know how to refuse him, but here I am. But I am very happy that I am here as the 50th speaker to congratulate the new intake this evening. It's for you to begin this journey. I recall my MBA intake, which was many moons ago. For me, it was indeed a very joyful day. I'm sure for you to have made this decision and to decide to do an MBA in the middle of this pandemic, this MBA must mean a lot and must be very important. As mentioned by Dr. Atakorola, the topic given to me this evening is to speak about my expectations of a CEO of tomorrow. To start off, what I thought to give you a small experience of my opinion in the best CEOs, two young people who I believe have been the best CEOs of their time. So I would like you to take you back to 1967. There is a small town outside the city of Kandy called Gampala, for those of you know. There were two young men, and they were aged 20 and 23, having already worked in a pharmacy in Kandy. Because at that age they had to go to work because the family needed their support. So they were working in Kandy, and both got together and said, you know what, we can either work like this or do something on our own and support the family even better. So they rented a small outlet, 800 square feet in all in Gampala town, and they went and borrowed 5,000 rupees as their seed capital. And if you really think of today's 23-year-old and 20-year-old, I don't know how many of them will have the courage to do that at their age. I myself have a 23-year-old. I'm not so sure if she will have the courage to do this and to open a shop. They worked night and day. I mean, there were no poor days, there were no Sundays, there were no holidays, there were no vacations, there were no weekends. It was 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. They hardly slept, but that was the growth. All right. They grow so fast that at that time when everything was being nationalized in Sri Lanka, the entire pharmaceutical business was nationalized and it was called State Pharmaceutical Corporation. And somebody saw the energy in these two individuals and awarded the distribution of the State Pharmaceutical Corporation's products to the entire country to these two guys in a little shop in Gampala, because they had the network and they had the connection to all the doctors, and they were just so hardworking. 10 years later, they opened a flagship store in Kandy in um, what do you call Colombo Street in Kandy. What I call a superstore where you would find anything under one roof. And there was pharmaceutical, there was electronics, and this is 1977 when everything was being liberalized, and anything imported you would find under this door. And the word department store was not even invented then. So today you would call that a department store. I call that a superstore then. They grow so rapidly thereafter, and they became the second largest importer distributor of pharmaceutical products. And not so recently ago, a few years back, they celebrated 50 years of existence. And who are these two people? They are no different than my two elder brothers, who were the founders of Sunshine Holdings as you know it today. And recently, you would have read, we have made it to the most admired companies list. Uh, so, to give you a why I told you this story is, what does it take to do this for the two youngsters? What did they see? One, I thought, is the positive attitude. Any CEO must have positive attitude. And they also had the attitude of never giving up. And nothing was not reachable or nothing was not possible. And I can go on and on and on. So, as far as I am concerned, what to expect of a CEO of tomorrow, primarily, is to have positive attitude. I used to have a professor, Dr. Richard Donovan, a nice elderly Irishman who taught me electronics during my undergraduate electrical engineering degree at the University of Hartford. And he used to every day tell us, guys, all I want you to do, if you don't do anything, he used to say, learn how to learn. If you have a notebook somewhere, write it down. Learn how to learn. He said, books and exams will not be the reality when you go to work. He always said, you need to know where to look for the solutions and answers. And that's what he meant by learn how to learn. He also said, you will never have exams in your life. You will have real life challenges. You will have to make those decisions, and you and only you. He said, so for God's sake, I ask you, learn how to learn. And he also used to always tell us, don't ever stop asking the question, what if? So, you need to keep asking yourself, what if, right? If you keep asking those questions, what if, it just makes you, question yourself and say, what if I do this? What if I don't do this? Or what if I do it this way? So that's what, makes good CEOs. So as all of you know, COVID-19 has completely reshaped the way we do and look at our businesses. We have had to adapt to new operating models and look at, alternative processes. Our future lies beyond this pandemic, and we cannot be static anymore. It's very, very dynamic. The future CEOs will have to look at strategies that will drive mostly human centered mindset. And that would mean to innovate new processes through leveraging of data and cutting edge intelligent technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, future is all about data. You will make decisions based on data. You will agree that any challenge that a new CEO will have to face is going to be that much more difficult than what I, as a young CEO, faced. You have to look at future back approach, and you have to look at, cutting edge technology, and look at how your company is going to be 5, 10, 15 years if it's going to be needed. Your organizations will require individuals who are firm yet inclusive, with a decisive outlook needed to back superior operating and financial skills. CEOs of tomorrow must view every decision, every technology implementation, every product or service innovation through a human lens. And I hope you will appreciate people are the biggest assets, not the buildings and machinery. If you don't look at through the human lens, the best laid strategies can come to nothing without the right talent and mindset to execute them. So, a CEO's role is gaining the buy in among all the employees and other stakeholders as essential in these changing times of COVID. First of all, you must understand the stakeholder needs, and the motivation will become great importance. You will get people on board to drive performance and align them around the goal, and you will have to create value and change. CEOs must be strong to draw communication and influence strategies. They must be able to identify and plan for detractors. There's always detractors in our lives where there are concerns that could create resistance and can become channeled into something positive in order to achieve concurrence. You shouldn't spend time to just being liked or to protect any team or any painful decision. Instead, you should be supporting and instilling confidence and so that you can lead a team to success. As we all know, the world has been catapulted into a digital era. And that's what I said. Today, it's all about technology. We had to change how we do things overnight. If you all remember the first lockdown, ordering things online, nobody knew how to do. But today, everybody is doing online. So the stakeholder needs are ever evolving. Companies need to leverage into advanced performance. The CEO must be able to adapt, and that is key. Success in leadership will be the ability to get out of your box. We all are in a box most of the time because everything is safe inside that box. And I say this to most of my leaders and CEOs of the company. When you come in, we always have baggage that we carry. Please leave your baggage. That's the only way you will go forward and you will change and you will advance. A CEO is somebody that I say who will quickly be able to adapt and to take advantage and make early changes. That will give the organization an edge in moving forward. A CEO will scan all the networks and diverse sources of data in order to find relevance in information. Even though at the first data could seem very unrelated to your own business. But that's how data works. I believe that leaders should have a growth mindset. If you keep doing the same thing and don't expect any result, you will never grow. So you must be hungry to grow. Remember the two young boys story I told you. There will be setbacks. And in any good organization, if you don't have setbacks, you will never know how to grow. As you all have experienced, I have experienced, working in environments. Today, the working environments have completely transformed. Today things are completely unprecedented. It is nothing like what all of us have experienced. So today, a CEO needs to be very strong in your resolve and to make fast and very intelligent, forward looking decisions. And you have to be a motivator and you have to be a coach in the winning team. CEOs who make calculated decisions earlier and faster with greater conviction rather than waiting for the right time to make the perfect decision will succeed. There is no such thing as a perfect decision. It's a gut that comes in your gut, and that's what you have to make. You have committees and committees, nothing will work. Sometimes you have to make that decision from your gut. What I want to emphasize today is that it is important for CEOs to take fast, calculated, and move the organization effectively forward. I spoke about digital transformation. It has given way to high level of scrutiny among stakeholders, where there's going to be a lot of growing demand for transparency. The future of the CEO's role will be challenged in different mindset. CEOs who raise the bar around themselves with building strong teams and focusing on performance and talent rather than being comfortable or being loyal to your company. No longer, yes, loyalty is important, but you need to focus on performance, and you have to always believe in moving the organization forward. So in this digital age, it is the CEO's responsibility to ensure that the organization is looked at trustworthy, reliable, your products are reliable. You must give very careful consideration. I started off by saying give the human impact and every technology a wide scale of deployment. As a CEO, the prerogative to pay attention to building trust with stakeholders. It is only then the organization will be able to reap the full benefit with things like artificial intelligence and data science. So let me stress and reiterate that a new post-COVID CEO must possess courage and resolve to address these needs of change. So all of this effort affords a new opportunity to build a better business and a better world, embracing the ability for a diverse workforce to perform optimally, building a trust and confidence with an outsized impact on perceptions and value for the future. So, thanks to digital technology, today I speak to you from Cochin in India. If not for this technology, I would have had to make a choice of either to address you or to be in India. Today, I have accomplished both. I think I have said a lot for you to take home and digest. Have a great evening, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you, and God bless.
Dr. Rohanta, you are on
You're
mute
muted.
actually. You
Dr.
are
Rohantha,
muted.
you're on mute.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate. Fantastic. I mean, my take was very simple, sir. Focus on performance with an HR angle. I mean, I really love that. Really love that. And that was fantastic. And the story of the two boys, I'm sorry, I really did not know. I mean, I have a lot of respect for the two brands that you have built. I have seen it. I've been tracking the Nielsen data on retail, and I've seen how the market shares picked up on Zesta and whatever else. So, I mean, it's lovely meeting you, sir. Uh, uh, just a few questions which I hope you don't mind taking, and I really appreciate you for joining in from Cochin. I really didn't know that you were overseas. Thank you very much for obliging. Um, I mean, you are not just the managing director of Sunshine Holdings, but you are the the head of the chamber. You know, you are the you have to play the father figure role for the whole of the private sector of Sri Lanka. uh, so how do you deal with this issue of policy inconsistencies, the what we see so much in the marketplace, and given that you have such a strong track record of planning and delivering performance, and your results very clearly tells you how organized you are, how strategic you are, but how do you deal with policy inconsistencies, sir?
Um, Dr. Atagorla, it's like this. Policy inconsistencies is something that Sri Lanka has tolerated for a long time. Unfortunately, you and I won't tolerate that in our own businesses, right? Because we plan for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, but those things are becoming shorter and
Sir,
shorter.
you
Can you hear me?
I lost you, sir.
Can you hear me?
It's coming through all right for us, sir. Please carry on.
Okay.
You're
Maybe.
perfect, Vish. Yeah, can hear.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was going to say is, today our planning sessions are a lot shorter, and especially with COVID, things change so rapidly. But I don't know if you saw my interview at the LMD. They asked me the same question, and what I said was, we as the business sector need to speak to the various governments and various party leaders, etc. And we have to ask them, am I clear, or is there something going on?
So done, sir. I'm okay. I mean,
You're coming through right.
yeah. Go ahead,
Okay,
sir.
okay, okay. So what I was saying is, I propose that we speak to the different leadership, the different governments. It is so that in Sri Lanka, every 5 or 7 or 10 years, we have successive governments changing. But we, the private sector, we, the business sector, must come forward and propose that, some very important strategies, etc., that there is a buy-in from everybody, right? So that those particular things don't change. And I gave an example of Malaysia. Malaysia, they too have governments change, but they have certain strategic initiatives that either governments don't come and meddle around with it, because they have all agreed over time that these are strategic and they don't meddle around with it. For example, they have a digital city called Putrajaya, right? Successive governments have come, nobody goes and meddles around there because it's a city called Putrajaya. Sorry, it's called Cyberjaya. They call Putrajaya is the capital. Cyberjaya is the digital city. So there are companies around the world who come and do business there. And the promise that has been given, whenever that was given, whoever the government is, whoever the ruler is, nothing changes in Cyberjaya, right? So the companies don't care who is running the country or who's governing the country. If want to come and do business in Cyberjaya, that's it. They built a new city called Iskandar, which is close to Singapore, something like our port city. Same. Everybody agreed this is how it's going to be there. So I think it's time to mature and agree on some of these things. And I think we as private sector, chamber, professionals all have to come together and agree on some policy consistencies. Otherwise, Sri Lanka will be where it is forever. We will never be able to move up. But it's a work in progress, Ravanta. It's a work in progress. We have to, it's one thing is to complain, one thing is to do something about it. So my suggestion is, we have proposed this, and I think people are listening, and we have to work at it.
So, um, I mean, I remember when Watola plantations, the privatization came in 1992, it was 100% tea. But then, of course, with your leadership, right now it's about 50% because you have so beautifully diversified into so much of other industries, which is a real case study of what privatization brings in to a state asset. I mean, it's a real case study. However tough it is, like you said, we have run through the mill and we have got it going. So, what is your view of the fertilizer issue, where decisions are taken not on data points, which you very clearly identified in your future CEO's role. So, what's your view, sir?
And Ravanta, you're putting me on the spot and asking me all the difficult questions. Well, I will tread through this very carefully. So it's like this, right? Fertilizer, whether it's chemical or organic or etc., it is something that is required, right? So I'm not going to point fingers, whoever took the decision, and I believe in a simple rule. You first comply and then complain, right? Whether you and I like it or not, today that's the law of the land, right? So we first comply, right? Because just shouting every day is not going to do anything. So what's the alternative, right? So now there are alternatives being brought. So we need to go through the alternatives, and best thing is to, again, like you said, prove it through data, right? Unfortunately, it may be a very costly exercise, but then at least that's what it'll take, right? Um, for me, more than anything else, I think the issue is in the communication, right? Even any difficult decision can be communicated very well. So if there's so much confusion in this room today with, people who are going to do the MBA doesn't know why, can you imagine the poor farmer who is illiterate, right? Doesn't know why this was taken, why the decision, and what's the ramification. So if there is a very good communication put in place, maybe things would have been a lot better. I mean, even in our day-to-day lives, think about it. If we all communicate a little bit better than the way we communicate, even with our own families, with our own kids, with our own employees, communication is key. So I'm going to leave it at that, and hope things will get better.
Yes, I'm. Thank you very much, sir, for that answer, which I really like what you said. First comply and then complain. I suppose there are some times when you have to see how best you can do with your resources, and then you go back and say, let's see what changes need to be brought in. So one question that I have have is, which I find it difficult to actually kind of come to terms. I hope you can help me on this one. Now, all of us are working for private sector companies which are profitable. Uh, but then, our country is bankrupt. I mean, that's the truth. We are going through a issue, and we know that in the next 1.5 years we have to spend something like a 7.5 billion we have to pay. So, how do you operate in this frame, sir?
Yeah. So these questions, it's a fantastic question, right? If you look at the quarterly results of the first quarter, and now you will see second quarter results coming in. Most companies will be very profitable. Other than the few sectors that have got hit badly, the tourism sector, the leisure sector will struggle, but mostly other sectors will have a decent result. Um, yeah, so the country is going through a difficult time, we wouldn't have got here if not for COVID. I mean, COVID changed everything because it taught us that we were so reliant on one particular avenue for our foreign exchange, and we depended so much on tourism, and that just shut off the tap. Then our second most dependency was on our people who are working overseas. The tap got shut off. And the third most was every time we had to pay our debt, we were able to go in the international market and raise money. And today, there is no money in the international market because of the COVID and because of our country rating. There is no takers for our bonds. So we have closed all 3 or 4 taps that we have had. And if we were the only country going through this, then there would have been others to help. But you look at every country is going through the same thing. Every country's tourism is badly hit. They've all had to help their people, their workforce. So we are not the only one. So people have to help themselves before they could help somebody else, right? And thank God that countries have worked together and at least made sure they have shared their vaccine. So at least we have had a decent vaccine. So, one is to say that we are bankrupt and, don't do anything, or, we all must do something to change this dependency on these three things. And I keep talking to the policymakers of, use this pandemic, because if you looked at the supply chain, people who were so dependent on India or China got hammered badly, right? So they are all looking for new supply chains. And Sri Lanka must be out there pitching itself, saying, hey, listen, I am there, I'm just in between, and I can do things as better or, cheaper than India or Sri Lanka, and give us a chance. And we need to bring some big names. We need to bring the Tatas of the world, we need to bring the Samsungs of the world, the LGs of the world, the Apples of the world to come. That will change the equation. Somebody used the example of Vietnam. They've really gone from the typical agricultural farming country to being a technologically advanced country. South Korea's Samsung has really spent money in Vietnam building their second largest factory in the world. So those are the things that we have to do. I really hope we don't get to the bankrupt level, and I think they are doing few things, and hopefully some of these friendly countries will come to our rescue, and we will be able to move forward. But as individuals, we also will have to tighten our belts big time. We will have to give up a lot. I know we have given up a lot. It's easier said than done. But these are difficult times, so we have to face it.
So I was listening to Virat Kohli this morning, and he's saying, when things are not going too good, it's sometimes tough to have a positive outlook. So I mean, he's going through a bit of a rough patch. So, what is your honest advice to a youngster? uh, you know, studying for an MBA, who is saying, I'm going to equip myself with a new skill set other than what I have specialized in. I'm going to learn from people who have done it before and see how I could do a little bit more better to face the pandemic stronger. What's your advice to a youngster, sir?
So the advice to a youngster is, we all have a couple of choices, right? When things get difficult, either we give up or we say, you know what, this too shall pass and I'm going to move forward, right? And I always took that attitude. You just need to move forward. You need to march forward, right? Because it's like, when there is a 5,000 meter race, you'll see the guy who is running in front, right? He will, the moment he turns back and looks, there's trouble, right? Because you don't want to do that. You just keep moving forward. You just need to chug along, right? And you have to use all your resources. See, one is to, people can say, how do you move along? And what you do is, when things are good, you develop what I call an amazing network, right? And that's what you tap. You tap every resources that you have, and that will make you go forward, right? So, it's like, when you have a tire punctured car in the middle of the highway, and if you didn't have a spare wheel, right? I mean, these days they don't have spare wheels, they have run flat tires. But to show my example, if you didn't make sure you had a proper, spare tire, you're going to be stuck. So you always make sure you have a spare tire, you have alternates. So when you're doing well, you build those things, you see, and don't ever burn your bridges. You must be able to walk through those bridges that you built. people have a habit of burning the bridge so that you can't walk back. I hope I'm making sense, right?
Yeah,
Your
very, very.
networks, you must keep building when times are good, not when times are bad. So when times are bad, you reach out for help, and there'll be plenty to help.
So, tell me what, I mean, you run a family organization, but now, of course, it's a conglomerate. Professionals are running it. Uh, I mean, what really makes you tick? What really gets you to say, I'm going to work again tomorrow?
For me, it's the thousands of people who work, who depend on my decisions, who not only just those people, those families, those children, and I feel I owe it to them to get up every morning and do what I have to do, so that there's thousands of families who will cheer, go to school, wear good clothes, have a TV, all that. And that's what inspires me, right? That's what inspires me. And I truly enjoy seeing people doing well. People who join, practically with nothing, and suddenly their lifestyle has changed, and they're somebody in society, and they move up. That gives me great joy, and that's what ticks me.
So, I mean, actually, it's lovely chatting with you, sir. I mean, I know a lot of people will shy away from becoming the chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce because you have to take a larger role, and sometimes it has a lot of conflicts with the company that you work for. But of course, I know how many people have questioned me when I said I will be chairman of EDB or Sri Lanka Tourism, because ultimately, you have to take those very unpopular decisions, and you're alone. There's nobody else to support you. You're out there. I mean, it's lovely, sir, to have you as our 50th speaker with so much of wisdom, which you can only pick up when you talk. My final uh, question to you, sir. Sorry, before I ask my final question, do you have a mentor or a coach?
Yes, I do. I told you two of my elder brothers. One of them is my coach, mentor, father figure. I lost my father when I was 7 years old. So it's all been one. And I truly trust and learn every day.
So, eh, if you have to give some advice to young Vish Govindasamy at 21 years, what would you tell him?
Go do everything what you did. Don't look back, right? Nothing is stoppable. Just enjoy life. Be honest. Be honest to yourself. Be honest to everybody else. And life's a journey. Take it as it comes, right? And enjoy every day. And in the process, don't hurt anybody. That's what I would tell.
Thank you very much, sir. I know you have another engagement at 6:45, but you stayed back two more minutes more. Thank you so much. I really didn't know that you were in Cochin. I would have waited for you for next week when you came back, but
All
being
right.
you said you take it. Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, the managing director of Sunshine Holdings, Mr. Vish Govindasamy. Thank you, sir. Appreciate.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. Hope this is an inspiring start for you and wish you all a very good future for the next 2 years to transform yourself and to end up being a different self of yourself in the positive light. So, good night for now and have a great evening, everyone.
Thanks, Kaushali. Thanks, Ravani. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome, Doctor. Good night to you.